Chosen woman, this message is not accidental. You did not stumble upon these words by coincidence. There are moments in life when heaven gently whispers, and there are moments when heaven shakes you awake. If you have been feeling uneasy, confused, emotionally drained, or spiritually unsettled about a certain man in your life, this could be your confirmation. God does not expose something without purpose. He does not stir your spirit without reason. Sometimes the warning doesn't come through thunder or lightning. It comes through discernment, discomfort, and divine interruption. Do not ignore what your spirit has been trying to tell you. Too often, women who are chosen, anointed, and set apart mistake spiritual warfare for romance. They confuse intensity with destiny and attachment with assignment. But when God is preparing you for elevation, He will not allow the wrong person to walk with you into your next season. If a man is not aligned with your calling, God will begin to reveal the misalignment in ways you cannot ignore. This is not about fear. It is about awareness. It is about protecting your peace, your purpose, and your promise. So listen closely. You feel constant confusion instead of peace. God is not the author of confusion. He is the author of clarity, order, and peace. When a relationship leaves you constantly second-guessing yourself, replaying conversations in your mind, overanalyzing text messages, questioning your value and wondering where you truly stand, that is not divine alignment. It is emotional instability disguised as love. Yes, relationships require growth. Yes, they require communication, compromise, and patience. But they should never require you to abandon your inner clarity. They should not demand that you live in a constant state of mental fog. When you pray about Him, what rises in your spirit? Do you feel peace settle over you like calm water? Or does anxiety tighten your chest? When you imagine a future together, do you feel secure and grounded, or uncertain and unsettled? These emotional signals are not random. God's warning often shows up long before circumstances collapse. It shows up as inner unrest. It shows up as heaviness you cannot explain. Your spirit will feel disturbed long before your mind is ready to accept the truth. Confusion in love often becomes normalized. You tell yourself, maybe I'm overthinking. You convince yourself that all relationships are complicated. You minimize the knots in your stomach. But peace does not require you to decode someone's intentions every day. Peace does not force you to analyze tone, silence, or inconsistency. Peace does not make you feel like you are walking on emotional eggshells. A relationship aligned with God may challenge you, but it will not torment you. It may stretch you, but it will not destabilize you. Growth feels uncomfortable at times, but it does not feel chaotic. If you are constantly unsure where you stand, constantly trying to interpret mixed signals, constantly praying for clarity that never seems to arrive, pay attention. That confusion is not romantic mystery. It is misalignment. God does not hide destiny in disorder. He does not wrap purpose in persistent anxiety. If your connection produces more mental turmoil than spiritual assurance, that is not coincidence. It is communication, and often it is protection. 2. He pulls you away from God, not closer. Pay attention to what happens to your spiritual life when you are around Him. This is one of the clearest indicators of alignment or misalignment. Do you pray less? Do you read less? Do you feel less convicted about things that once deeply mattered to you? Do you compromise values you once defended with confidence? A man sent by God will honor your relationship with God. He will not compete with it. He will not subtly resent it. He will not mock it, minimize it, or make you feel extreme for prioritizing it. If you find yourself drifting spiritually, that drift did not happen overnight. It happened slowly. You skip one prayer. You excuse one compromise. You silence one conviction. You tell yourself it is temporary. You justify behavior you once prayed against. You dim your faith to avoid conflict. You laugh at jokes that once would have unsettled you. You participate in conversations that once would have convicted you. And over time, you barely recognize the spiritual discipline you once carried so naturally. Anything that distances you from God cannot be your destiny. That truth is simple but powerful. Destiny does not require disobedience. Purpose does not demand compromise. A relationship designed by God will strengthen your walk, not weaken it. It will inspire you to pray more, not less. It will encourage accountability, not secrecy. It will feel safe for your faith, not threatened by it. When a man becomes the reason you neglect your spiritual habits, that is not love, it is interference. When pleasing him becomes more important than pleasing God, something is out of order. God does not ask you to sacrifice your spiritual foundation for romance. He does not ask you to choose between your calling and your companionship. If you feel your convictions weakening around him, do not ignore that signal. That is not growth, that is erosion. The right man will not pull you away from the one who created you. He will walk beside you toward him. Your boundaries are constantly disrespected. A chosen woman has standards, not because she is difficult, not because she is dramatic, not because she is too much, but because she knows her worth. She understands that boundaries are not walls to keep love out. They are gates that protect what is sacred. Boundaries communicate value. They communicate self-respect. They communicate clarity about what is acceptable and what is not. If you clearly communicate your boundaries and he repeatedly crosses them, dismisses them, tests them, or makes you feel guilty for having them, understand this clearly. Disrespect is not love. Love listens. Love honors. Love adjusts. A man who cares about your heart will care about your limits. A man who values your future will respect your present comfort. Pay attention to how he responds to no. Does he pressure you? Does he argue? Does he sulk? Does he accuse you of being rigid, cold, or unreasonable? Or does he accept it calmly and respectfully? God often reveals a man's character through how he handles denial. Anyone can be kind when they are getting what they want. Character is revealed when they are not. Repeated boundary violations are not misunderstandings, they are patterns. And patterns predict outcomes. If he ignores small boundaries now, he will ignore larger ones later. If he makes you feel guilty for protecting yourself, he will make you feel guilty for protecting your peace in marriage. If he treats your limits as inconveniences, he will treat your needs as optional. Boundaries are not ultimatums. They are invitations to respect. And a man who cannot honor your limits will not honor your future. He will not suddenly transform after commitment. He will not magically develop respect once vows are exchanged. Disrespect does not shrink over time. It expands. You are not difficult for requiring dignity. You are not dramatic for expecting consideration. You are not controlling for protecting your emotional, physical, and spiritual well-being. A relationship that requires you to repeatedly defend your boundaries is not safe. And love should always feel safe. 4. You feel drained instead of support. Love should not feel like survival. It should not feel like a constant battle to keep the connection alive. If every interaction leaves you emotionally exhausted, mentally depleted, or spiritually drained, that is not nourishment. That is depletion. Relationships require effort, yes, but they should also replenish you. They should not feel like carrying water in a leaking container. Ask yourself honestly, after spending time with him, do you feel energized or emptied? Do you feel understood or misunderstood? Do you feel strengthened or burdened? If you are constantly explaining yourself, constantly fixing misunderstandings, constantly forgiving repeated offenses, constantly carrying the emotional weight alone, you are not in partnership. You are in imbalance. And imbalance, over time, becomes bondage. A God-designed partnership strengthens you. It encourages you. It creates space for growth and healing. It does not demand that you shrink to maintain peace. It does not require you to suppress your emotions to avoid conflict. It does not place you in a perpetual cycle of emotional labor while he remains passive or indifferent. When you are always the mature one, the patient one, the understanding one, the forgiving one, that dynamic is not sustainable. You were not created to mother a grown man emotionally. You were not designed to carry the relationship on your back while convincing yourself that one day he will catch up. Chronic exhaustion in a relationship is not a badge of loyalty. It is a warning sign. Your soul was not meant to live in survival mode within love. If you feel consistently tired, not physically but deeply internally tired, pay attention. That fatigue is not random. It is your spirit signaling imbalance. Love should feel like support, not strain. It should feel like partnership, not pressure. And if you are constantly drained instead of poured into, that is not divine design. Your intuition keeps whispering something is off. God often speaks through discernment. He does not always send thunder. He does not always send dramatic revelations. Sometimes he sends a whisper, a quiet nudge, a subtle discomfort that refuses to disappear. You may not have proof. You may not have evidence, but you feel it. Something does not align. Something feels inconsistent. Something feels hidden. Something feels unstable. Many chosen women ignore this whisper because they do not want to appear paranoid, dramatic, or insecure. They tell themselves they are overthinking. They silence their instincts to preserve the relationship. They convince themselves that love requires blind trust. But intuition is not insecurity. It is spiritual intelligence. Discernment does not always come with detailed explanations. Sometimes it comes as a pattern of unease. You notice small inconsistencies. You sense shifts in energy. You feel tension in moments that should feel safe. You ask gentle questions and receive defensive responses. You notice things that do not fully add up, and instead of investigating, you suppress. But when that quiet voice keeps resurfacing, do not silence it. God designed intuition as protection. It is not meant to create fear. It is meant to create awareness. If something feels off repeatedly, that feeling deserves attention. You are not crazy for noticing patterns. You are not insecure for wanting clarity. Peace and intuition work together. When you are aligned, you feel steady. When you are misaligned, you feel unsettled. And that unsettled feeling is often your spirit trying to protect you from future heartbreak. Investigate that whisper through prayer. Do not dismiss it because you lack evidence. Evidence often comes later. Discernment comes first. 6. He is threatened by your growth. A man who is meant to walk beside you will celebrate your expansion, not shrink under it. Growth is not a threat to the right person. It is inspiration. If he becomes insecure when you succeed, distant when you glow, or subtly critical when you evolve, that is not partnership. It is competition, and love was never designed to be a competition. Pay attention to how he responds when you level up. When you pursue new opportunities, develop new skills, strengthen your confidence, or deepen your spiritual life, does he encourage you? Or does he withdraw? Does he become moody, sarcastic, or dismissive? Sometimes the insecurity is not loud. It is subtle. He may joke about your ambition. He may downplay your accomplishments. He may question your decisions in ways that feel less like concern and more like control. God is elevating you. Growth is part of your calling, and anyone intimidated by your calling cannot handle your future. A man aligned with your destiny will not feel threatened by your light. He will feel honored to stand beside it. He will not compete for attention when you shine. He will protect your shine. If he subtly tries to shrink you, suggesting you are doing too much, changing too much, or becoming too independent, pause. Growth always changes you. Evolution always stretches you. And anyone who prefers a smaller version of you is not invested in your purpose. They are invested in their comfort. The wrong man will fear your expansion because it exposes his stagnation. Your discipline may highlight his laziness. Your spiritual growth may highlight his complacency. Your ambition may highlight his lack of direction. Instead of rising with you, he may try to pull you back to where he feels safe. The right man will not feel diminished by your growth. He will feel motivated by it. He will not compete with your calling, he will collaborate with it. And if someone is consistently uncomfortable with your evolution, that discomfort is not accidental. It is revealing. There are too many red flags you keep excusing. When God shows you patterns, believe them. Red flags are rarely isolated incidents. They are repeated behaviors disguised as bad days or misunderstandings. If there are consistent lies, inconsistent effort, disrespectful behavior, emotional manipulation, broken promises, or a lack of accountability, do not romanticize potential. Potential is not promise. Many women stay because they see who he could become. They see flashes of kindness. They see glimpses of effort. They remember the early days when everything felt intentional and exciting. They cling to the version of him that appears when it is convenient. But God deals in truth, not fantasy. He does not ask you to build a future on maybe. Excusing red flags often starts small. He didn't mean it. He's just stressed. He'll change. I just need to be more patient. But patience is not denial. Grace is not blindness. And love is not supposed to require constant justification. If you are constantly defending his behavior to friends and family, that is often a sign you already know the truth. If you feel the need to explain away his actions, soften the story, or protect his image at the expense of your honesty, something inside you is aware that things are not right. Patterns matter more than apologies. Consistency matters more than promises. Character matters more than chemistry. And when red flags continue to appear despite conversations, tears, and second chances, it is no longer confusion. It is confirmation. God will often reveal a person's true character over time, not through grand gestures, but through repeated behavior. And if you keep seeing the same issues resurface, understand this: repetition is revelation. Do not fall in love with potential while ignoring reality. Do not sacrifice your peace waiting for someone to become who they have not shown consistent effort to be. Red flags are not challenges to fix, they are warnings to heed. You are isolated from wise counsel. Be cautious if he subtly distances you from people who genuinely care about you. Isolation rarely happens dramatically. It happens gradually. A comment here, a suggestion there. They don't understand us. They're just jealous. They're too involved in your life. Slowly, you begin to withdraw from wise counsel without realizing it. If trusted mentors, spiritually grounded friends, or family members express concern, and you find yourself immediately defensive, pause. Especially if those people have consistently demonstrated wisdom and love in your life. God places wise voices around you for protection. He does not isolate you from accountability. Unhealthy dynamics thrive in secrecy. They thrive in silence. They thrive when there is no outside perspective. If a relationship requires you to hide details, minimize problems, or avoid conversations with people who would normally advise you, something is wrong. A man aligned with your future will not fear wise counsel. He will welcome it. He will not feel threatened by accountability. He will not insist that the relationship exist in a private bubble where only his voice matters. Isolation is often a tactic used to reduce influence, weaken confidence, and increase dependency. If you notice that you have become more withdrawn, more secretive, or more disconnected from your support system since entering the relationship, examine that shift carefully, especially if those who love you most have gently expressed concern. God uses community as protection. He uses accountability as guidance. And when you find yourself slowly separated from those stabilizing voices, ask yourself why. Love does not demand isolation, and any connection that thrives only when hidden should be questioned. God keeps closing doors around the relationship. Have there been repeated obstacles, sudden interruptions, plans that consistently fall apart, exposures that reveal hidden truths at unexpected moments? Sometimes we call it coincidence, sometimes we call it bad timing, but sometimes it is divine intervention. When God is protecting you from future pain, He will disrupt present attachment. He may allow things to unravel before they become permanent. He may expose inconsistencies before vows are exchanged. He may allow delays, cancellations, or revelations that force you to see what you were trying to ignore. If doors keep closing despite your effort, do not immediately assume you need to push harder. Not every closed door is a test of persistence. Some are acts of protection. When things repeatedly collapse, when clarity keeps surfacing at inconvenient times, when hidden information keeps coming to light, consider the possibility that heaven is stepping in. We often pray for confirmation but resist correction. We ask God to bless relationships He is trying to block. We interpret resistance as warfare when it may actually be warning. Sometimes unanswered prayers are protection. Sometimes disrupted plans are mercy. If you have experienced repeated signs, consistent interruptions, or undeniable exposures around this relationship, pause before forcing it forward. God does not need your help closing a door. And if He keeps doing so, it is not to punish you, it is to preserve you. Attachment can cloud judgment. Emotion can override logic. But divine intervention often speaks through disruption. And if things keep falling apart despite your desire to hold them together, perhaps it is not falling apart. It is being redirected. Chosen woman, this is not about fear. It is about freedom. God does not warn to punish. He warns to protect. You are too valuable to be tied to someone who will delay your destiny. Trust what God is revealing. Pray for clarity. Choose peace over attachment. Choose purpose over pressure. This is the Woman of Light channel. If this message reached you at the exact moment you needed confirmation, I encourage you to take a bold step of faith. Subscribe for more messages that strengthen your spirit and sharpen your discernment. And if you know this word found you at divine timing, type 1111 in the comments section as a declaration of alignment and blessing. Your next season requires obedience. Don't ignore the warning. Thank you for watching.